Good evening and welcome to another episode of Confidence Culture Conversations. Right, Kirabai, how are you doing?
I like that question. Well, I just came back from a nice break, a 5-day break.
Tell us more.
So on the 29th of August, my husband and I we celebrated our 14th year of marriage, which is our wedding
Happy
anniversary.
anniversary.
Thank you so much. We usually we take some time away to recoup and just get connect with each other.
Okay, very
That's
important for any couples out there.
yes, very important. So we just went to Madeira. Oh my God.
We just went to Madeira, like we just hopped onto a plane and we went to Madeira.
Literally we did. We decided a couple of days before that and said, okay, we always wanted to go to Madeira,
Mm-hmm.
and we thought this was a excellent idea to and a time to celebrate. Let's get going. And we threw a couple of things into our bags and we went off hopping and hopping along. And I can tell you, Elizabeth, it's a great place to go for a short break. Really beautiful, colorful. The food is so yummy. The weather is, 365 days is 25 degrees. Can you imagine?
Tunji, if you're watching, we need to book a trip to Portugal.
And I was talking to Robert about this, and I said, I think we should move to Madeira.
Did he now?
No, I suggested, Robert being the true Brit, he's quite set in his way. For me, I mean, anything goes. I can do anything there. I can enjoy myself and even work from there. I can work from anywhere. So
You
yeah,
can.
so Madeira was good. A really a time to reconnect, build memories, and reminisce of our wedding and talking about it. It was nice. It was lovely. I thank God that He gave us this opportunity to explore a new country and
Mhm.
also explore the explore each other in the sense that to reconnect. And with that, Elizabeth, we are talking about the secret of connection today.
Absolutely.
Yes. So, Elizabeth, I know you had an exciting weekend. Tell me more. Tell me more.
Exciting is one way to put it. It was a busy weekend because I had two events. I was
Mm,
supposed to be speaking at two events.
I don't know how you managed
And
it.
well, it turns out I ended up not speaking at the second event.
Oh,
I did go, but because of the way the program was going, I ended up not speaking, which is absolutely fine. So it was good to just come and be part of it. But the first event that I went for, it was really amazing. So, it was a busy day for Team Olujimi, let's put it that way, because
mm.
it was a Team Olujimi affair. So I went off with Janaya to Birmingham. Tunji branched off to Milton Keynes. I was in Birmingham probably till about 4:30, and then made my way to Milton Keynes. Tunji was there, so he was holding the fort in Milton Keynes. Yeah, and then me and Janaya came and joined in. But it was a really lovely day. It was very full, very rich, very empowering, should I say. The first event I went for was a women's event, organized by Day Spring Church in Birmingham, which is pastored by my friends, Inkem and Tolu. And they do an amazing job, and it was just lovely. I'm so grateful that I was able to go. The Lord moved. He just had his way, which was really amazing. If anyone wants to watch the conference, there is a link that you can watch on Facebook. It was recorded. It was recorded on Facebook. It's not Facebook, on YouTube. So it is on YouTube. So feel free to reach out and ask me for the link, or go on my Facebook page and you will see that Inke posted something today and she put the link on there. So yeah, I I had a really lovely time. It's one of those weekends that you look back and you're like, God, I know it's going to be a busy weekend, but you have prepared us for this. So we had a late night on Friday, late night on Saturday because we got home really late. I think we left Milton Keynes about 10:30 or 10:20. So by the time we got home, it was quite late with Janaya. And on Sunday, Tunji was preaching in church. So it was all very full on for us. And we had one of those Sundays where we bring a meal and share together. So we woke up early on Sunday morning to prepare some food to take to church. But yeah, so we got the physical nourishment and the spiritual nourishment. It was really good. It was really good. So we thank God. And you know what? To anyone out there looking for a spouse, marry someone you can do life with, you can fulfill purpose with, because that's what me and my dude were doing on the weekend. We were fulfilling purpose, but we do it every day, right? So a tip for anyone who is single and looking for a spouse, make sure you marry someone who you can fulfill purpose with. Anyway, that was the first of one of many busy weekends coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And before I tell you about the other weekends coming up, I'm just going to be quiet for a minute and hand over to you, Kirubai, because we're talking about connections today, right?
Yeah.
And as I think about some of these events, it's about connections.
Mm-hmm.
The event I went for in Birmingham, I met Pastor Inkem about 7, 8 years ago at Bible school in Warsaw. So hey, like it's connections. It's connection, and it's through that connection we've developed a relationship. And I was able to go and speak. The event in Milton Keynes, it was through connections. It's people that we've partnered with, Natalie and Lewis, who whenever they come to our events, they come with this amazing 360 machine, and it's all about connections. Life is about connections. Over to you, Kirubai.
And to add on to that, one of I think it was a couple of weeks ago where I attended one of your programs in Lewisham,
Yes.
and I was connected with this lady, and she then connected me to Imago, the charity organization. So I'm doing a program for them tomorrow at 2 p.m. in
Is it
Lewisham.
tomorrow? Oh my
Yes.
days. Okay.
So, that's also another connection. Thank you, Elizabeth, for that connection.
Pleasure. Pleasure's all mine. Let me know if you need me to come.
Please come. I'm not going to twist your arm, but I know you're busy preparing for a lot of things. I understand if you're not there, but you know what? I love your support. It's if you're able to come, please do come.
I'll see if I can make it work. I need to be in Elephant and Castle at 1 p.m., but I
Woo!
can get a train from Elephant and Castle to Lewisham, which takes about 20 minutes.
Oh, all right.
So I could. I love the guys at Imago, so hey, why not? I'll give it a try.
Yeah. So I am doing something with regards to styling, and the women there really need a personal touch, and I'm bringing that touch to them through clothes, to accessories. There goes that comment. Yes, and yeah, I'm excited about tomorrow. Yes, Pastor Tunji, we got connected on Facebook, on social media. Yeah. So today, as we speak about the interpersonal relationship, about having the right connection, and interpersonal relationship is all about human connection.
Mm.
But by saying that, we also connect with our pets. Don't forget that. You know, this country is so big on pets. They love their pets. And you know what? Pets bring a lot of joy to a lots of people. And we cannot forget pets. We need to remember they are part and parcel of our lives. But more importantly, interpersonal relationship is
Mm.
about human connection.
Mm.
And why is human connection so important for our well being, for our lives as we do life, as Elizabeth always says? Because every day in our lives, we need to be connected.
That's it. That's it.
And we take connection so lightly.
Mm.
And as I think back over the years, as our one of our Indian saying goes, I have eaten enough salt. I think of the connections that I have had over the years, how it has always, you always say, you always think you do not want connection as transactional.
Mm.
Sometimes connections are that just there, like what you said. You knew this pastor 8 years ago, and
Yeah.
yet today or yesterday you had the opportunity to speak at one of her platforms.
Mm-hmm.
And that's sustained connection for the last 8 years. So
Yep.
as we do life, and many, 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 many moons ago, as we have made connections over our lifetime, from the time from birth till we die, we make connections. I know it's sobering, but you know what? We're going to talk about the importance of connections
Mm.
and what it does to our lives, how it
Mm.
enriches our lives. So, Elizabeth, I want to throw this question to you.
Okay.
Part of interpersonal relationship is building your emotional muscle.
Ooh. Mm-hmm.
And building emotional muscle, it can turn awry, or it can turn to the positive.
Mm.
So today, as we talk about the importance of interpersonal relationship and connections, would you be able to share a little bit about building your muscle, your own muscle, your physical muscle, and also your spiritual muscle? Because when I'm bringing the spiritual muscle to you is because of your as you carry the office of a pastor. So I just want to ask your opinion on it, on the
Mm.
spiritual muscle, how it affects your emotional muscle and your physical muscle.
Okay. Okay. That's a good question. I hope I understand it. Let me give it a go. Let me
I'm
give it
sure
a go.
you would be able to connect it because you would have a different viewpoint. I would like to know your viewpoint, and I'm sure our listeners would like to know your viewpoint.
So is this on just building relationships and connecting with people?
Yeah, basically that.
Yeah, I mean, if we look at the spiritual side or look at it from a faith-based side, like the Bible encourages us to love our neighbors, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
The Bible does encourage us to build relationships because
mm-hmm,
otherwise, how can you how can you be of the kingdom but not building relationships with the people that you were trying to reach?
mm-hmm,
You cannot reach people you don't want to relate with. Let's be honest. You cannot you cannot win someone over if you are not willing to relate with them on some level. So from a spiritual aspect, when we hear the great commission, go out and make disciples, you can't make if there's no relationship. The making is not going to happen. That's just the reality of it. So there has to be an element of relationship that is involved. One of the things I like to say to people is you cannot accomplish purpose from a place of isolation. So relationship is important. If we are going to be all that God has called us to be, we have to be willing to relate with other people, because life, is about relationships. Is about relationships. We were created from a need of relationships. God wanted a relationship with man, and he created us. When the Bible talks about in creation, Adam, like he was on his own. He just had the animals around him, and God is like, it's not good, like for man to be alone. Like he needs somebody that he can relate with. And so woman was created. Out of that, there was a void. And so we as women were created. So relationships are at the center of any thriving community, any thriving nation. Relationships have to be at the center, and so yes, there is that spiritual aspect that we have to take into play. um but also, you mentioned about emotions. And when we talk about relationships involve an element of emotion. You have to bring some emotion into it, because we are not stones, we are human beings, we have feelings, we have emotions. So you express your emotions in the relationships that you build, whether it's negative emotions of anger, or emotions of love, deep affection, agape. Like, you express them in within the confines of relationships. That's how the relationship grows. Is I extend some form of emotion your way. I act on the emotion, the way that I feel towards you draws me to speak to you, draws me to check in on you, draws me to pray for you, draws me to build relationship with you. So there is an emotional aspect of it. So we're not, you're not a stone, you're a human being. So emotions are going to be involved. It's kind of like they say that the people closest to us are the ones that seem to hurt us the most,
Hmm.
because we are so emotionally attached to them,
The
that
pain is
any issue cuts deep. But when they're so far away, there's not much of a relationship. You're like, it's all right, I don't really care. But relationship is central. If you are going to achieve a level of success, it's about building relationships. You're not going to get to the top all by yourself.
there. Hmm.
If you are going to build a successful business, the relationships you build with your clients is so important. With the people that you are serving, it's so important. If you are going to successfully lead an organization, lead a charity, lead a church, lead whatever it is you're going to lead, you need to build relationships. A leader who does not develop relationships has missed the point.
Totally.
Every leader needs to have a level of relationship. Now, that doesn't mean to say that you are going to be close to every single person within your circle. No, there are levels, there are degrees of relationship. And so you have to be mindful. Who are the people that I need closest to me? Who are the inner circle? Who are
Hmm.
the outer circle? You have, who are the holy of holies? Who are those people? So relationships are so important to where we are right now, where we have been, and where we
And
are going.
going to. Thank you. You hit the nail. You really hit the nail. I
Yay.
mean, I'm asking an expert on these matters because, as Pastor Tunji and yourself, you're always, you know, advising people on the area of relationships and how to build and not tear down. Because when you build on something that is worthwhile, you see a good result.
Mm,
And I am reminded of God's law. God's law is, what is his first law? He said, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind and with all your strength. There he is talking about loving, which is a spiritual connection. He wants to connect with you as we connect with him. The second, of course, loving your neighbor as
mm,
yourself. So there is a place where you love your neighbor, but you cannot love God and you love your neighbor if you don't love yourself.
mm.
So I'm bringing this point, connecting with yourself first.
Ooh,
It is important. I know it sounds deep, Elizabeth, but that is the basis, the foundation of interpersonal relationship.
mm,
It is connecting with yourself. And this is what, as a transformational coach inside and out, I always
mm,
share with my coaches, my clients. When you start connecting with your feelings and connecting with your things that work that doesn't work in your life, or does work in your life, all other things will fall in its place.
Hmm.
But you have to pivot your life on God.
That's it.
So important.
Hmm. It's that thing that we need to have the horizontal relationship, sorry,
Yes.
the vertical relationship,
For the
and it helps us to have the horizontal relationship. If we are not pouring into that, it's hard to have this.
mm,
But you find that actually there are some people who focus so much on the horizontal, but they forget, they focus so much on the vertical that they forget that actually you have to build relationships on earth as well.
mhm,
So the horizontal is important too,
mm.
because I cannot be all that God has called me to be if I do not build relationships with people. I can't.
If you live like a hermit.
You can't. You can't. It's and I think, when the Bible talks a lot about when making reference to Jesus, and one of the scriptures that I love is when the Bible talks about he was moved with compassion.
Mm,
That always strikes me, because as Christians, we are supposed to be moved with compassion. Like there should be something on the inside of us that just moves us. Like he was moved. He didn't just feel compassion, he was moved. Like there was an action that came as a result of the compassion that he was feeling for the people that he encountered. So, relationship is not just about talking about something, there's an action. Relationship is evident in the actions that are taken, the actions that are done. When the Bible talks about how for God so loved the world that he
mm.
gave his only son.
So what you're saying is interpersonal relationship is a connection, is a verb. It is a word that we have to take action. It's an action word. In English, they would say action. You cannot have a connection with someone if you don't reciprocate.
Mm, mm.
So I know you talk a lot about mental health. So those who have a tendency to go into depression, they seem to they seem to have no relationship, or they're lacking in interpersonal relationship. Is it true or false?
I want to say false. I want to say false. Because the relationships are there, but for some, it's not opening up. So it's the level, the depth
Mm,
of the relationship. So I would say the relationships are there. It's just a question of how deep the relationship is. Like, does the person feel comfortable enough to come and say, "Hey, this is how I'm feeling. Like, this is what's going on in my mind. These are the thoughts that I'm having in my mind. This is what I'm dealing with right now." Um, and I remember going for a talk, and one of the things they said is, like, we need to be our brother's keeper.
mm.
We need to watch out for our brothers and sisters. And when I say brothers and sisters, I'm just talking about people around you, like people close to you, people around you, people you relate with, like just watching out for them, because you can see some signs. Someone doesn't get bad mental health or poor mental health in one day. Like, there are signs. There are things that are happening along the way, but it's whether or not we're picking up those signs. It's whether or not we're keying into it. Sometimes I think the society and the times that we are living in, our relationships are not necessarily as deep as they could be, and part of it is, yes, social media. I think it's negatively impacted on the depth of some relationships. because we see you on social media, we think that you're okay.
Mm.
We think we're connecting with you, but actually we have not sat down with you to say, Kirubai, how are you? Like, how are you really doing in this season? We don't do that. We tend to, yeah, hey, awesome, lovely pictures, we do that. But we are not
Very,
necessarily,
very, very
like,
on the surface. Yeah, very on the
how
surface.
often do we
Mm.
pick up the phone and say, hi, Kirubai, I just wanted to check in on you. How are you doing? Or even just sending someone a message, or, going out for a coffee with somebody. Like, we don't do that as often as we could. Which is a shame. I started telling people that, when God brings someone into your mind, connect with them.
Mm.
Like, sometimes you can just be sat there and someone comes into your mind, like a name just pops into
Mm.
your mind.
Mm.
Like, don't ignore it. Don't ignore it. Like, reach out to the person, check in on them, pray for them. Like, try and do something. I remember one time, I was just there, and there's somebody I remembered. I don't have a personal relationship with her, but I know her through Facebook. And I thought to myself, oh yeah, I haven't seen her posting anything for a while on Facebook. And so I sent her a message. I was like, let me remember her name, quick, quick. And I went and searched for her, and I sent her a message, and I just said, you came to mind, and I just wanted to check in. Are you okay? We've not seen you posting on social media much, so I just want to check that you're okay. And I think that message went a long way. And she responded as soon as she saw the message, and she was like, oh, thank you so much for checking in on me. Yeah, I'm just taking a break and da 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 da. But I could have ignored that and not bothered. But she came to mind, and so I acted on that. And I haven't spoken to her to see, like, if there was really really something going on, and maybe, that message helped. I don't know. But sometimes just checking in with somebody makes a whole lot of difference, because you don't know where they're at that point in time.
Yes. So true. Do not dismiss those urgent thoughts that you get sometimes about someone else.
Mm.
Checking in is actually an excellent idea. you know Nowadays we hardly talk to people. We just message, what's up?
Yeah.
And sometimes it can get a bit impersonal, truth be told. So
Yeah.
pick up the phone and say hello.
Sometimes I like doing a voice note,
Yeah.
because the voice note, like, there's my voice, like,
Yeah.
hi.
Mhm.
So it's a bit different to just messaging, hi, how are you?
Yeah.
But relationships are so important. And it's one of those things that, if you value a relationship, invest in it.
Mm.
Invest your time and whatever else you need to invest in it. Invest in it. If you value it, invest in it. Don't abuse it. Don't take advantage of it.
Mm.
Cherish it, because some people don't have it.
Mm.
Some people don't have it. There's some people who say they don't have friends. So if you've got, cherish it. I remember one time speaking to some young ladies. I would say I was mentoring them. They were my pastor's daughters, and they used to look at me and see my relationship with my sister.
Mm.
And they were like, Auntie Liz, how come you and Auntie Esther are so close? And I was like, we've over the years, we've learned to value each other. Like, we value our relationship. So every day we're in connection. We're messaging. If we can call, we'll call, but at least not a day goes by without a message between us. If a day goes by without a message, it's like, oh, what happened there? But we try, and we're always checking in with each other. um and I remember saying to them, and I said, don't worry, as you grow older, you're going to learn to value your relationship more.
Mm.
Because at that time they were teenagers. They were like, yeah, I don't want her hanging around with me. But now, and I reminded them the last time I saw them, I said, look at you two. You're like besties now. so so it's that thing of learning to value relationships, and sometimes it comes with maturity.
Mm.
For some people, close relationships are foreign to them because they've not had that as they've been growing up.
Mhm.
And so they struggle with that, or they struggle to open up.
If you're
um
only child, you have the only child syndrome, huh?
I hope Janelle doesn't have that.
Well, because I mean, I speak out of experience because I'm married to an only child,
True.
and yeah, so there are a lot of things that I always ask Robert. I said, "Who do you reach out to when you want to speak to anyone?"
Mm,
So he keeps very quiet because his circle is very, very small.
mm.
Unlike me, I'm all over the place. So
It's that thing of being intentional to build relationships.
yeah, and I suppose some people are very content with their own company.
True. Is
Mm.
this where we're gonna say the introverts?
Hmm. They could be introverts. They could be introverts, but introverts also need friends.
Yes, they do. They
and
absolutely do.
and I think coming back to relationship of a husband and wife, or when partners, when you love one another. And I believe that I've brought the other aspect of a relationship to my husband, because
Mm,
one being introvert and I'm being totally extrovert, we bring the balance in our relationships.
mm,
So, but you know what? It's God who brought us together. So he knew. So
that's good.
working on personal relationships is very, very important, because you could be poles apart. But what is the common denominator that we have is our marriage is built on God. That's our firm
Mm,
foundation.
mm, that's good.
Not everyone can do life like Elizabeth and Tunji, because they have lots of common interests. Here, my husband and I, we are on a total different spectrum. I'm different, he's so different, but we support one another for what God has called us.
Mm,
So I always say we make 100% together. She's laughing. For Lou, you're laughing, eh? So it's a different kind of dynamics, but it's
mm,
still building a relationship, building our connections, and
mm.
taking time to listen to one another and building connections is so important, because it adds to our well-being and our happiness. Remember, we spoke about happiness last week?
Yes, we did. Yes, we
And
did.
when we are happy, we perform better at our work, at our business, as friends. So so it all ties up. It's so strange that God has brought all this because of His love for us, that we in turn have to pour out love. So
Mm,
so one of the things is, you've gone to a new church now, Elizabeth, you and Tunji, and I think you come to a place of where you feel you belong.
mm.
So connections make you feel that you are arrived at a place, you felt that you're welcome and you
Makes you
belong.
feel at home.
Yeah, you feel at home.
Mm,
And I think that's so important. If you can be a sore thumb, in places where you don't feel welcome.
mm.
Mm,
No, absolutely. And I remember like saying this. I remember, I think there's a Facebook group that we are part of, Kirubai, and someone posted in there about how she was in a church where she doesn't feel welcome.
yeah.
And like I felt like saying so many things in response to her post, but I think, there's a statement out there that people like to say, go where you're celebrated.
Mm.
Now, where you're celebrated is absolutely good for you, but it's not just about being celebrated, it's also about being challenged sometimes. And in relationships, we have to find that balance. It's not about relationships where someone is always saying yes, 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 yes. Sometimes in relationships, we sit down and we don't necessarily see eye to eye, but we learn to walk together.
Mm.
Even in the midst of like you were saying, how you and Robert, yes, you might be so different, but yet you are, walking together. You are, and relationships need compromise. That's the thing we have to remember. Every relationship needs compromise, because you won't always want the very, very exact same thing.
Mm.
Like, it won't happen. And this is in any relationship. We're not just talking like male and female relationships. We're talking about, family. We're talking about colleagues. We're talking about, work environment. We're talking about business. Like, all these things, like relationships are so, so, so important. And like the success of your business can hinge on the level of relationship that you are able to build, especially if you are an entrepreneur. Like, if you're an entrepreneur and you're listening to this, if you're in the field where you're building you're building your dream, the relationships that you build are so
So
important. As they say that your net worth is your network, or your network is your net worth, whatever it is, that statement. But the relationships you build are so important. If you cannot build relationship with your clients, well, they ain't coming back. If you go into a restaurant and you feel so unwelcome, are you going to
you,
come back?
you won't come.
No.
Mm.
If you take up a service and the customer service is poor, see you later. I ain't coming back, and I'm going to tell everybody I know that
Mhm.
your customer service is rubbish. So relationships can help with success on our journey to success in the different things that we have our hands in. So we need to remember that. Even, John Maxwell talks a lot about in his book, gosh, what's the name of that book? That one about communication.
Everyone
Everybody communicates,
connect.
few
No, no,
connect.
everyone communicates, but few connect.
That's it. If you want to be a better communicator, that's one book to get. That's
Yeah.
one book, one of probably many books out there that you can read. But one of the things I loved in that book that John Maxwell talked about, he said even when he goes to speak somewhere, he tries to connect with the people that he's speaking to, and sometimes that means talking about his failures.
Mm.
Like, vulnerability is important in relationships. I remember when I got into a serious relationship at some point years ago, and I was like, the success of this relationship is going to hinge on how vulnerable I allow myself to be with this person. Because if there's no vulnerability, it's a false relationship, it's a false friendship. And you mentioned about like mental health and people being able to open up. It's allowing yourself to be vulnerable and say, actually, like, I don't feel 100% right now. Like, I'm not with it, or things are just not where they need to be. That level of vulnerability, or just even being able to say, having those awkward conversations of, I don't like what you did yesterday, what you said yesterday. Like, it hit a spot for me, it offended me. Or, being able to have those
Mm.
conversations and
Open.
still resolve and move forward with the relationship. I know, yes, some relationships come to an end, because the reality is not everyone is meant to go with you into the next season.
Mm.
So you can't carry every relationship with you. There's some relationships that can last for life. That whenever you interact with the person, you might have a gap of like 3 years. You come back together, it feels like you just saw them yesterday.
True. Very true.
And then there's some relationships that just become like a sour taste in your mouth, and you're like, it's okay.
It's
We
okay.
move on.
We move on with no bad feelings. with no bad
And
feelings.
you
Yeah.
have to understand that some relationships come to necessary endings.
You learn and you move on.
That's it.
Yeah. So, interpersonal relationship, when you have a good persona, a relationship, a connection, it actually builds your confidence and
Mm,
self-esteem. Because when you walk into a room and you wear a smile, you light up the whole place. And that when you smile and somebody acknowledges the smile, there is a connection that takes place.
mm,
So, and immediately with that connection, you feel very confident. Ooh, this person has acknowledged me.
mm,
So indirectly, our conversations are always centered around building your confidence. So when you have good connection, it eventualities are that it builds confidence within you.
absolutely, absolutely.
So confidence, we always talk about confidence in different aspects. Maybe the word confidence, after doing 74, today is the 74th episode, we have had many different spins taken with the word confidence, but
Mm,
it's all about doing life.
mm,
It's all about how you do life. We as women of faith, we bring in God. But for those who do not understand, or why is faith so important in confidence, because without him you cannot be confident.
mm,
If Elizabeth speaks with such confidence, I mean, I always admire Elizabeth's confidence, and she motivates me to be confident. Sometimes I might cringe, but you know what? Looking at her, I said, well, I have to take a go at it. So
good.
you motivate someone else, and that someone else will motivate someone else.
Mm,
It is contagious. The connections are very contagious.
absolutely.
And and the evangelities makes you very resilient.
Mm,
You don't care what other people will say, because you're confident in yourself.
mm.
You're on a firm foundation, man.
No, that's very true, and I see the connection of relationships and confidence, because having the right relationships can really boost you. And even just having the confidence to also extend relationships, or to reach out to build a relationship, because sometimes that's where the issue is, like, I'm scared they will reject, or they won't want to be friends, or something like that. But just being able to say, look, like, let's just start a conversation with somebody, can be a way of building a connection. I remember one time we were saying to Janaya, like, when we go out and about, or when you're in school, like, just, hi, my name's Janaya, nice to meet you, what's your name? Just even practicing that little bit with her, just so that when she goes out there, she's a bit confident. And we'll take her to a place somewhere, and you mentioned about, like, the only child syndrome. So when we take her to places, she's looking to make friends.
Mm,
And the funny thing is, it's not like the friends, 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 but like, she goes to a place and she'll start interacting with these other kids, and she'll come and tell you, mommy, I made some friends today.
mm,
And it's being able to, we need to encourage that, and encourage the right friendships.
And encourage them from young.
Encourage them from young, encourage the right friendships. And I think one thing that we need to also be conscious of, and I might as well say it here because I just brought Janai into the conversation, is, as parents, we need to have relationships with our children.
Mm,
We need to have relationships that empower our children, not just relationships where we discipline our children, but relationships where we empower them, we encourage them, relationships where we help them to be their best. It's not just a relationship where they're scared of you as a parent. No, no. We need to have closer relationships. I remember saying to somebody that when I was younger, I used to have moments where I sit on my dad's lap and I play with his beard. Relationship.
So cute.
Because there's some people that will say, oh, I could never do that. I could never. But I had that relationship with my dad. So as parents, it's good for us to encourage relationship, because when our kids go through like their teenage phases and stuff,
They have no
like
time for you.
it's hard. Life is hard for them. They're dealing with so much. So if the relationship is already not there, well,
Who can they turn to? Huh?
yeah, at least if there's relationship, you can work on it, work on it. But it's so important for us to, like, it goes without saying about building relationships. And you mentioned about confidence. Like, when you have the right relationships, even when you go to speak somewhere, right, and you're able to build and make connections with people in the audience, you are more confident in the talk you're delivering,
Mm, that's right.
because you've built that relationship. You're hearing their stories. And that's one of the reasons why I like doing work within the community, is you're hearing their stories.
Mm.
And it's from their stories that you can empower them and inspire them, help them to know that their stories are valid, and their stories carry so much weight, and their stories can add value to who they are and the future that they're building.
Well, that's so true. That's so true, Elizabeth. That there, each of us and each of the people in the community carry a story,
Mm,
and yeah, storytelling is it's right up Tunji's alley, where he helps
absolutely.
people to put their stories on paper.
Mm.
And yeah, I know I've still not fulfilled that desire to write a book yet. So much on my plate. Oh God.
You're not the only one. It's coming, it's coming, it's coming.
So Elizabeth, so what are you going to do this weekend? You must be busy. We are going to go back to. Do you have something to plug in this weekend?
This weekend, Women Aglow.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Building relationships and connecting with women of faith.
Yeah, amazing women. Women, we can glean on them and learn so many things.
So yeah, we've got Women Aglow. That's what, 10 o'clock, in Paddington. So if you're watching this and you're a woman of faith and you're wondering what's this about, well, get connected with us and we can pass the information on to you. But that's where myself and Kirubai will be, and it'll be a lovely time of fellowship. Um, and it just so happens that I have now got another event to go to.
Oh, wow.
But it's an interesting one, because the young lady that's having this event, she's launching a women's network.
Mm,
And she connected with me through social media.
mm.
And she reached out and said, please, I would love for you to come. And so I thought, I'm going to try and honor her and go. um, although my church is supposed to be in a park building relationships with the community, and I was supposed to be there. So Tunji will represent me there, and I'll see if I can finish the network event and then go there. Then I'll do that. But yeah, it's about Saturday is about connecting. There you go. It's about connecting.
Well, you are a busy bee.
It's the month we're in. It's a busy one.
Yeah, and then soon you'll be going away. Yeah, Elizabeth,
Connections again.
connections again. Yeah. So, my last few words for this episode is make time for those connections and make it last Make it last. Make time and make it last, because you do not know who will be there out there for you when you go through some troubles or go through
Mm,
some happy times. And most of all, it makes you happy. Good connections make you happy.
absolutely. Absolutely. I think for me, one thing I would say is be intentional when it comes to connecting and building relationships. Be very intentional. Yes, guard your heart, but be very intentional. And remember that if a any form of relationship is going to work, it's a two-way street. It's not a one-way street. It's a two-way street. So both parties have to be involved. Both parties have to communicate. Both parties have to express themselves. Just like our relationship with God, you don't just come and yap, yap, yap and shout and shout and shout and shout and then run away from his presence. No, you sit and you listen. You be still. You sit at his feet. You take in what he's saying. So it has to be a two-way street. Be intentional. Remember, it's a two-way street. And yes, guard your heart. But relationships are powerful. The right connections are powerful. The right connections will get you into rooms that you never even expected. And actually, let me say this, and I'm borrowing it from a man of God that said it, that when God is doing something new in your life, He will bring He will either bring a new relationship your way, or he will reintroduce an old relationship but in a different light. So be mindful of the relationships you're in different seasons of your life. But also remember, not every relationship can be in the holy of holies. There's inner circle, there's outer, there's all those levels of relationships. So don't bring everyone into the center, because that's too much. Then you're sharing your issues with everybody, and that's not healthy for you.
Yeah, be mindful. Be very mindful.
But remember, you cannot fulfill purpose without relationship.
I
So
like that.
connect with people. Connect with people. There's a lot more I can say, but we're gonna end it here and we're gonna call it a night. Have an amazing, amazing evening. Like Kirubai said, there's so many things going on in this season for some of us. So like if you follow on social media, you'll see like the different things, events going on. But we've got events this Saturday, next week Saturday, the Saturday after that, the Saturday after that, and it's about connections. Connections we have built over time. Connections. This you're seeing here is about connection. We connected and we nurtured the connection. And that's why we're doing this. And that's why today we can proudly say we are on television stations in India, right? Because connections, we have built them. Anyway, that's me wrapping up. If you want to have a deeper conversation following what you have listened to today, please feel free to reach out to myself or reach out to Coach Kirubai, the transformational coach, inside out. So she deals with the inside and the outside. So feel free to reach out, because sometimes some of us have been through relationships which might have been toxic, narcissistic, and all these relationships have left us traumatized. And before we move forward, we have to deal with this trauma. We have to unlearn certain things. We have to unpack certain things. I remember speaking to someone and she said, I struggle to trust people. That's because of what has happened in the past. And because she struggles to trust people, she doesn't have many close relationships. So that's a very, and there might be a lot of people in that boat. So if that's you and you want to have a conversation, please feel free to reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to make time to
Yeah.
talk with you, to pray with you, to give you some coaching if it's coaching you need, to mentor you if it's mentoring you need. And yeah, if you need some spiritual counsel, we can also do that. But reach out. Don't suffer in silence. And as you're watching this, please comment, like, share, subscribe, and encourage someone else to watch it. We are grateful for you connecting with us and watching this. Thank you very much.
Bye bye for now.
Felt like a speech. Yes, bye for now. That is not the speech I prepared before, by the way. It was just I felt the prompt to say those things. So yeah. Like take advantage of the offer that I just made you, basically. Anyway, God bless you, and we'll catch you later.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.